Okay. Uh, Hello, ladies and gentlemen who are listening. This is Journey Through Me. For those of you who are new, my name is Aaron Martin. This is a podcast about mental health and particularly my journey through it. And I am sitting down to record this is episode 2. And I said last week that I wasn't going to do like uh, pre thought of or pre announced topics. I was just going to talk about what was ever on my mind. And, that day and what was going on today is just. I'm sorry, my voice sounds choked up. I've been pretty much letting the tears fly for a little bit, which doesn't happen to me very often. I have some kind of mental block about crying, so it doesn't happen often. So when it does happen, I try to let it go for as long as it can go. Uh, so I was trying to let this stuff stifle before I started this, but then I thought, well, that's kind of the whole point of this is to, be real and be upfront and honest about how I'm feeling. So that way people know they're not alone. And so I guess we'll just go into what's going on with me today. We'll talk about the depression side of things. If you were listening last week, I was talking about how depression is one of my diagnoses, and it's. I think the hardest part about depression is that it's different for everybody, even though it's the same basic issue. It hits people differently. Some people get one way or another, but like for me, I know that hopelessness and despair are kind of the biggest two things that people experience. For me, man, like I'm just such a cynic by nature, where I just expect the worst at all times. And I know that that's a combination of upbringing and, how as a kid nothing ever seemed to go right for my parents or even really just like extended family or anybody I really knew. Really, just nothing seemed to go right or the way that you would hope they go or that they should go or whatever. So just growing up, like that's all I saw. So I'm just a cynic by nature, and with that in mind, it's just this whole depression thing, man. Or for me, when it's just God, I just don't even know how to describe it. It's just like I expect the worst, and then the worst thing always seems to happen, and then when it does happen, it just makes it so much worse, and I just feel so like it's not worth it. I guess it makes me feel just so terrible, and it makes me feel terrible for so many ways. Like it makes me feel terrible for being alive, for wasting breath, and for just the billions or potentially trillions of possibilities that happen when people are made and all the different combinations that could happen. It makes me like feel bad that it was me that got it. Like why did I get to come through? And it makes me feel like why try. And it compounds with these thoughts of like just worthlessness, man. Like, I just feel worthless. I feel like I don't deserve to be here. And like I shouldn't be taking the time of the people that I take the time of. I don't know. It's just been really hitting me hard today, and I just figured we'd talk about it for a little bit. And just, it's such a weird out-of-body experience because, like, at the same time I know that it's not true, right? Like, it's like, I don't want to feel this way, and like there's a part of me that's like watching what's about to happen on the other side of soundproof, like in a soundproof room, and they're banging on like a plexiglass window, but nobody can hear on the other side, where it's just, don't, like, that's not true, stop thinking that, blah blah, whatever it is, but you can't hear it because you're so wrapped up in this ball of just turmoil and despair. It doesn't matter what you really know. All that matters and all that seems to take the forefront is that you're feeling at that point in time. And it's super frustrating for me because I'm usually an analytical type of person, even as a cynic, right? Even as a cynic, I can usually analyze something and go, okay, there's only a small % chance something bad would happen out of this. And, depending on whatever that is, usually I can analyze it and be okay with it based on that process. But when it comes to this in particular, I can't do that. There is a disconnect in my brain with that. It won't let it happen. And it's the most frustrating thing. To know something is horseshit, to know that I'm not worthless, and to know all this stuff, but to feel it all the time is so damn frustrating and aggravating. And that makes it all worse, all that stuff, like, it makes it all worse. It makes it all worse to know that. When logically it should make it better, right? It should make it better. I should be able to logically put those empty pieces, like all those empty spots, I should be able to put pieces there where I go, look, no, that makes sense, and this makes sense, and this makes sense. So obviously I have a full picture of why it's worth it and why you're worth it, and and all that. But it's just, I can't. Even though the piece is supposed to fit fucking perfectly, it doesn't. I can't push it into place. And it's so, And I think that's why people don't want to talk about this stuff, and why a lot of people shy away from getting help. Is because, you get so frustrated by it and you don't really want to deal with it that I think it just automatically puts into place that other people don't want to deal with it. So why would you share? And 9 times out of 10, they're just going to tell you the same thing that you already know, that it's worth it and blah, blah, blah. But you can't put the piece there, and nobody else is going to be able to put that piece there. That's the biggest fucking bullshit part of it, is that you want to go get help, and you do go get help, and you go take the medications, you go to therapy, you talk to your friends, you talk to your family, and everybody tells you the same thing, and they're trying to jam that fucking piece into that spot in your brain, and it just won't go. No matter what you do, it won't fucking go. And I don't know why it won't go. But you have to keep trying. Like, you have to. Because it's if you live a lifetime of nothing but bad happening, isn't that worth it? Isn't it? I mean, like I said last week, you get one and it's worth living, and I truly believe that. But just sometimes, man, I want that piece to click, And I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't know how to stop it. Frustrating. Frustrating, man. The worst part is that like this kind of thing is not your fault if you're going through it. It's not. I know it's not. Like it's not my fault. It's a chemical imbalance that only through medications and whatever else is it going to right the ship. But after years of, I mean, like I said last week, like I've been doing this whole depression deal since I was 17. Probably before that, but that was when it was diagnosed. And I am so tired of medications. I'm so tired of pills. I'm so tired of, because the only ones that work are the ones that turn me into so big of a zombie that I don't care, and that's not living. That's not life. And it's just so devastatingly hard to do this. And I think that's one of the things that I was trying to get through today is, and that was really on my mind, right? Is if you're going through this, or if you know someone who's going through this, it's just so hard. And if you're going through it, I know, I feel it. And if you know someone who's going through it, or if you're just trying to understand it, just understand. If you don't, like, from where I'm sitting, if you don't understand anything else about it, just understand this, that it is more difficult than you can imagine. Than to have to wake up every day and give yourself reasons. You know? I mean, think about your average day. You get up and you have to think of a reason to go to work, right? Or you have to not stay home with the kids or your dog, or just to do what you want that day. And imagine waking up every day trying to find a reason to fucking stay alive. You know? Like, just, oh my God. It's the worst. I can't think of something that's worse than that. I honestly can't. God, there was a time in my life where I woke up every day. For at least 3 days, the only time I moved was to go to the bathroom and to eat. And that was more like autopilot body trying to keep itself alive. Because it sure as fuck wasn't me trying to do it. I didn't care. I remember at one point I had not moved in 2 days. I had bottles of water by my bed. And I was I hadn't eaten. I hadn't eaten in like 2 days. And I'd only gotten up to go to the bathroom. And then one day I woke up and I stared at the ceiling for 3 hours and I didn't move a muscle. I didn't move, like not at all. I think I may have, I obviously blinked, but that's it. I did not move my head. I didn't move my arms. I just laid there staring at the wall, constantly inside my head thinking, get up, 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 move, 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 move. Roll over, roll over, roll over, trying to like plead with myself and bargain with myself. And then the askings got lowered and lowered, where finally I was screaming at myself to just move my arm. Move your right arm. Just move it, right? I felt so dejected, defeated, and downtrodden, like just so worthless, that I did not feel I was worth the effort to move my arm. Because I couldn't find a reason to. And I mean, that morning, I urinated all over myself because I couldn't even find a reason to get out of. Well, I mean, I was gonna kill myself. Uh, I remember I was in college. This was back in like 2000. I want to say 12, early to 2012. Yeah, I had uh, I had gotten a steak knife, I think, out of the kitchen, and I was gonna cut my. I was gonna cut my throat, and I looked it up, man. I looked it up. 3 seconds is how fast you bleed out. You cut that artery right, 3 to 5, maybe 10 seconds at the most, but you just die. I wouldn't have even had time, and I was okay with it. I was okay with going. Um, got up. Well, when I realized that I went and got the steak knife after I realized that I didn't have the energy to get up and move my arm. Right. Walked in there, my roommate, a college roommate, just a random guy. I didn't really know him that well. He was sitting in the living room. I grabbed a knife. He goes, "Man, what you doing?" I said, "Here's the deal, man." I just remember saying, "Here's the deal. I'm gonna go back into my room. Uh, I told him, don't go in there, but after about 45 minutes to an hour or something like that, just call 911. Tell them that you need an ambulance." Uh, I left it at that, and I just went into my room and shut the door. Um, and I was gonna do it, man. And for whatever reason, I can't even tell you why I didn't. I know that I had a bottle of Jack Daniels in my closet, and I grabbed it instead. And I ended up getting super drunk and passing out instead. Uh, I remember, the only thing I remember, well, I do remember, like, while I was drinking, I went out and put the knife back in the kitchen. I said, "Never mind, man. I'm gonna get drunk instead. Sorry for bothering you or for worrying you or whatever I said." I know it was either bother or worry, but I don't know what kept me going. I guess it was just de-engineering that thought process of like, well, you couldn't get up before, but you did now. I think it was something akin to that. Um, but man, I just fast forward to what I was talking about last week, the whole suicide deal. I mean, that was pretty much the same thing, only this time instead of not being able to move, it was just my whole encompassing thought was just, you don't want to be here anymore. Just you want to die. You don't want to be here. Um, and that all just was a snowball effect from just this feeling of despair that I have more often than not, and more than I care to let on. And that's another point I wanted to bring up, that about the depression, is that a lot of people who suffer from it hide it, and they hide it well. Um, because they don't want to, for a multitude of reasons, but I think mostly they don't want to bother other people with how they feel. And I've put a lot of thought into that, and it's because I think most people don't feel comfortable sharing this kind of stuff, right? If you hear any of that in the background, that's my dog Louie snoring. He can't leave me alone. He just sleeps by my feet. Anyway, but If you're listening to this and you don't suffer from any of this, and you're trying to, maybe you're just listening because you care about me, maybe you're listening because you're just trying to understand it more. But if it's anything like that, where you're just trying to understand what this stuff is, just make a concerted effort to let the people in your life know that you care, and not just like on a surface level, but that you really care how they're doing, to try to get them to open up about this stuff. Because honest to goodness, I can take all the medication in the world and I can go to therapy and all that, but it's just, there is no greater weapon in the fight against depression than the people who care about you showing you that they care. Even if it's for a second. And no, it's not a cure all. Let me point this out. It's not a cure all. It's not going to cure it. But it is I believe that it is the greatest weapon, is when they can be genuinely shown that they're cared for. It can help tremendously. Not, it can, and that doesn't mean that it will, because there have been plenty of times where I've been shown that, and my thoughts have turned that into, yes, you care, but you shouldn't. And that's usually where I get stuck, is where people show me that they care, and then I usually say, well, yeah, but you shouldn't care. You should stop showing me this love and affection and everything else you're showing me, because I'm not worth it. And that's a whole nother, bag that you have to try to dump out and sort through. But that doesn't mean that you should stop, because it really does mean the world to those people. I can promise you that. Like I said, everybody's journey is different, but I can promise you it does. Just depression is it's just such a weird thing to deal with, and it's just such a, oh, it's just such a roller coaster of a ride for the person who's experiencing it, and it's never the same. It comes in at different intensities every day. Sometimes it's barely a blip on anybody's monitor, right? There are some days where I don't think about it all day. I'll be feeling fine. And by feeling fine, I don't mean I'm in a sunshiny, cheery, skip to my loo, happy-go-lucky attitude. It just means I don't think about it. It just means that for that day, I did not feel worthless or downtrodden, or like nothing was worthwhile. I didn't feel any of that. It was a regular day. I went to work. I did my job. I thought about this, that, and the other, but it was never anything depressing. And then that was that, And then there are days where that's all I can think about, and it's hard to even get out of bed because I don't even want to move. And by bed, I mean there have been times where I've not even slept in bed. I've slept on the floor, no covers or anything, because I did not feel any concerted effort to try to take care of myself. I have sleep apnea, and I can't tell you how many times I've not worn my mask just because I don't care that I get good sleep or not, because it doesn't matter, because I'm going to feel like shit in the morning regardless of whether I physically feel like shit or not. That's just the way that it is. There have been times where I've gone a week or two without showering, and that's stupid gross, but I don't care most times. It's just the unfortunate way that it is, There's just so much. I honestly, my mind is so frazzled right now that it's even hard to do this. So, I need to get my thoughts together. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of end on the fact that, or not the fact, but just end it with just saying that, depression really is, it's more than just you feel sad all the time. It's so much more, and it's such a fight. It's such a fight, and it feels like you have to fight with everything. It's just, You ever like have those like people, especially like people with kids? Like it's just like, oh, it's always a fight with these kids to get them to go to bed at night or brush their teeth, or it's always a fight with my dog to get them to go outside or go to the vet or take a bath, or it's always a fight to do this. Like just depression for me is just everything is a fight. It's a fight for everything. To try to do anything, it seems like I have to fight myself on it about why we should do it, and everything else that I've talked about today. Um, like I said, my brain is so scattered right now that it's hard for me to even try to keep track anymore. And I mean, this is a podcast about how I feel, but I also need it to make sense for what I'm trying to accomplish with it. So that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. And we will be back next week and talk about whatever it is that we're going to talk about then. Now, that is going to be it for me. Again, my name is Aaron Martin. Thank you for listening to Journey Through Me.